now he's had to struggle for an hour through all kinds of pain, but he's learned to do that in this year's Tour de France, and he's risen through the ashes and he's hanging on. And this man knows he's hurting everybody, but all he wants to do is get his brother out of this group and up the road.
That's what they started, their ambition of the day was, but they're not going to really have very much chance to gap anyone, I think, here, Phil, with this very strong 25-mile-an-hour headwind. All of the guys behind, they're getting the advantage. It's quite rare to get the advantage of slipstreaming on the slopes of a climb like this, but when you've got a block headwind at 40 kilometers an hour, it is an advantage to sit behind the guy in front of you.
Well, these two boys are looking over the shoulders. Who is coming? And here he is, Franco Pellizotti. His face a real pain now, but this is one of effort as he tries to reach. He's 39 seconds behind the two leaders. They're 1.5 kilometers from the summit, while the real action to win the Tour de France is there.
Well, Frank Schleck moved back down into the slipstream of Armstrong. Maybe he's planning one final attack before he gets towards the summit. Andy Schleck looking over to see what the situation is like. You can see the flags, you can see this block headwind that these riders are going into, and that really does nullify the attacks. Although Andy Schleck is going to try one more time. Armstrong is just sitting there, comfortable as he likes, and it looks now as if Andreas Kloden is riding himself back into the group.
Oh, the pain on the Ventoux, the pain on the face of Andreas Kloden, who sits in 5th place overall in the Tour de France, 1 place and just 2 seconds behind Bradley Hick-Wiggins. As the attack comes again, this surely will explode the group. Where does this man kick like that from?
Yeah, where does Lance Armstrong get it from as well?
He's amazing.
Because he's right in there on the slope, on the wheel of Alberto Contador, and they've gapped Frank.
Well, they've gapped Frank and they've gapped Wiggins, so if they've gapped Frank, they're going to have to hang up here, because the first 3 riders in the overall classification of the Tour de France ride in front of our cameras now. The white jersey of Andy Schleck, the yellow jersey of Contador, the blue jersey of Lance Armstrong. They are together, and this is the way they will be on the podium tomorrow in Paris.
Garate has gone. He sees and knows that there's a return coming from behind, and he's now thinking about the possibility of getting to the finish on his own. He's got 47 seconds over the yellow jersey group, and this is the move that he had to make if he's going to resolve the Tour de France of Team Rabobank. They've not had very much luck at all throughout the whole of this tour, and he could relinquish that today.
Well, this will be the biggest win of his life if he stays away for a victory on Mont Ventoux. He's made his move at just on 1 kilometer to go. I'm not sure we'll see any banners now, because the wind has blown them away. I think they're all in Marseille, quite honestly. As we look here now at the white jersey again. Oh, he's beginning to look as though he's getting tired, Paul, but what a rider.
What a man. He has thrown every attack that he can at Alberto Contador and Lance Armstrong to try and dislodge Contador. He's not been able to do that at all. He's not been able to do that with Armstrong either. This is a little bit of a difficult moment for this man, and this is Vincenzo Nibali sliding backwards. It's also difficult for Brad Wiggins.
He's coming back, I believe. His sights, he's got to hold on. He can still hold his 4th place here.
He just has to get himself into a rhythm that is comfortable, so he tries to limit his losses over this final 1.5 kilometers to the summit of the Mont Ventoux. Garate is holding on to 30 or 40 seconds over the yellow jersey group, and he may well start to nurture dreams of winning. Pellizotti's at 22.
Frank Schleck, who is up here, is 24 seconds he requires over Bradley Wiggins to take his 4th place off him, and Wiggins is just about holding them in sight, but that acceleration earlier by Schleck has almost brought them up here to Pellizotti.
Well, Pellizotti looks over his shoulder. He's starting to learn why this climb is a climb that needs to be respected. It's a beast of a climb in the heart of Provence. Andy Schleck again out of the saddle. He really has had the legs this afternoon, but he's not been able to outfox and outwork Alberto Contador or Lance Armstrong. He never ceases to keep looking over his shoulder, and the reason he's doing that, Phil, is he's trying to look after his own brother.
Well, this is all a
Tony Martin's come back.
Tony Martin has come back up to the leader here, so it's still 2 as they approach. We've got a banner up here, and I'm not sure what it will be, because it's got nothing on it. It should say 1 kilometre to go. I don't see a kite, but it could be exactly a kilometre from the finish now. Martin is back in here. Huge efforts required. Will there be enough lull in the action behind to give them their head? What a brilliant 1-2 that would be.
Well, there you can see the flags indicating how strong these crosswinds are, and there a little bit further back is probably the group, and one rider still in front of the yellow jersey group, and it's still Franco Pellizotti. Alberto Contador just dancing on those pedals of his on the slipstream of Andy Schleck. Armstrong is doing a phenomenal performance here this afternoon, Phil. I had a feeling at one stage that he might have been put under pressure, but that's not going to be the case.
Well, Armstrong has never seemed under pressure. Contador has always been at or near his side, looking at him there to check on him, just like this rider has searched for his brother to try and pull the last ounce of strength out of his brother's body to dispose of Bradley Wiggins and Lance Armstrong. The only chance now for Frank Schleck is to replace Bradley, and that's not enough time. Bradley, you've got to ride your heart out now, because you are holding fourth place by the skin of your racing shorts.
Yeah, he started the day at 5:36, but more importantly what he did was started the day 1 second ahead of Cloden. Cloden's behind him on the road, and he's looking at about 23 seconds.
He's got to get he must not lose 24 seconds. It's as simple as that. If he doesn't, he'll hold fourth.
Well, looking over his shoulder, Andy Schleck once again, they've pulled Pellizotti back into the fold. Armstrong is still there and still looking comfortable. There are now only 2 riders up the road in front of this group, and here's the big sprint.
This is the finish now, and Garate a little bit stronger, much more experienced than Tony Martin, a rider who we think one day could win the Tour de France. Today he'll finish second on Mont Ventoux, because Garate, the first man to attack the mountain, has finished it off. He's got the stage win. Now the times that matter are right here.
Well, Armstrong sitting there on the wheel of Andy Schleck, and he was on the defensive today. He knew he had to do a special performance to stay right at the top, and there, Phil, you're looking at first, second and third in the overall classification. Andy Schleck, Lance Armstrong and Alberto Contador.
Well, this is a victory for Alberto Contador in the Tour de France now, as he follows the man in the white jersey. He might even try to take him, I'm not so sure. He's still watching Lance Armstrong, making sure he's with him as they come up to the line. It is Andy Schleck who got second. Contador salutes as winner of the Tour de France, and Armstrong is there. Frank Schleck is there. Now, if it comes up as 109 on the clock, then Wiggins will lose his fourth place in the Tour. So 109, it's my count. There might be a second out. Watch out for Wiggins now. Can he get up here before that clock? Yes, he can. Well done, Bradley Wiggins.
He pulled himself inside out there, Phil. Look at that man. He's pushed himself into the oxygen debt that took him to 3 Olympic gold medals just to hold on a little bit further down. These guys are trying to defend their positions in the top 10 in the overall classification. This is Christophe Lemevelle, behind him the American Christian van der Velde.
Well, these are the remnants of the mountain climbers now, but what a race we have seen. This is Vandenberg. Cloden has lost a little bit of time here. He was coming up the mountain in 5th place in the overall. I think he might well stay in 6th place now. They've lost out to Frank Schleck. Maybe he's lost out to Nibali, but I don't think so. But the clock will decide, of course. But that was a desperate finish by Bradley Wiggins, and he'll hold on to his high finish in the Tour now. And this is the rider coming up, Christian van der Velde, his teammate, Wiggins' teammate, who finished 4th last year, and now it'll be Wiggins in that slot.
Well, they've defended perfectly over the final few kilometres. They rode extremely well at Garmin to put their man Bradley Wiggins at the front end of the race as they started the climb. But this has been a courageous run by this man too, Christophe Lemevelle. He moved into the top 10 because of his place into a breakaway, and he's defended exceptionally well through all of the Alps and in the individual time trial. He's going to finish probably at the end of the day in 8th or 9th place overall.
Well, the American Garmin slipstream will be happy tonight, because I think Van der Velde, here he comes, has done enough to retain his 8th place overall in this year's Tour, to marry up to his 4th place last year. And remember, he came here after quite a bad injury, to say the least, in the Giro d'Italia. Well, this is the final sorting out of the Tour de France, because tomorrow we head up to Paris and we'll see a good race, but it by tradition won't alter the overall positions. This was the battleground today.
It certainly was. Daniel Righi, another survivor of that early morning breakaway of 16 riders. But Andy Schleck did everything he could to try and dislodge Bradley Wiggins and Lance Armstrong to try and benefit his brother Frank, but it certainly was not going to happen. Luis Leon Sanchez in the black jersey coming up to the top, but Sandy Cassar in the white jersey there with Jose Luis Arrieta.